Co-op conversions, row house renovations, and an influx of artists and young professionals are changing the face of Hoboken by day. But as Michael Aaron reports, a few of the city's residents are changing the sounds of Hoboken by night.
A few years ago, nightlife in this town meant mostly a bottle of beer and a bag of nuts. Not anymore. To the sounds of the factories by day, something new has been added. Welcome to Maxwell's, where the back room, not much larger than a living room, has become home for a half dozen or so of the most popular bands on the rock club circuit. Their names may be unfamiliar: the Bongos, the Individuals, the DBs, the Cyclones, but their popularity is on the rise. For 4 years, Maxwell's has highlighted emerging new music bands in its back room, and the club has become an important stop on the rock club circuit. Steve Fallon, along with his brother and sister, bought what was in 1978 a working man's bar, started a restaurant in the front room, and began booking rock bands for the back.
We were trying to develop the music that's going on now, I guess. We're trying to, I knew it was there, and it was just, I didn't want to be like just another New Jersey bar, just having cover bands playing over and over and playing the same songs to top 40s. Like we knew, I knew there was bands out there that had original music and that they needed a place to play, and that's what we wanted to do, and that's what we ended up doing.
At first glance, Hoboken is an unlikely setting for a musician's mecca. A few years ago, it was a poor industrial city that had seen better days, a quiet, decaying port overshadowed by Manhattan just across the Hudson River. But it was cheap rents and proximity to Manhattan's music scene that drew many to Hoboken in the middle 70s. And the sounds of the city's factories and streets became the inspiration for a wave of Hoboken music. The Bongos are one of the most popular of the so-called Hoboken bands, and they are at the threshold of every rock band's dream, a record contract with a major label. The Bongos were among the first to call Maxwell's and Hoboken home.
Well, I first came to Hoboken about 4 years ago, after living in Manhattan. Hoboken was such a quiet place, and I figured I could write some songs here. And intended to stay a few months and just ended up staying 4 years, so far. This room was like a storeroom for the restaurant at Maxwell's, We used to rehearse here. There was like all these tools and stuff in this room. And we started rehearsing here on like once a week, and eventually, talked to people into letting us play here in the front room. And there was a really big, crowd starting to come on the days we played, so they let us use the back room, and this became Maxwell's.
Maxwell's offered exposure to other bands as well, like the Individuals, whose brand of urban pop rock has met with critical acclaim. Like the Bongos, the Individuals have developed a reputation that extends far beyond Hoboken.
It was a home-based practice room, the actual club, when I joined the band, and it was like that for probably 6 months.
It's like our club. It was our clubhouse,
right.
And all the different bands, would go and see each other, and mutual support, admiration, whatever, and served as a social place and a place for ideas. For a while, it was the only club in the whole Manhattan area where a young band could really get a start.
What has developed in this small city is a closely knit community of young musicians.
We've all worked on each other's records and live shows and stuff, and the sound is really varied. There's like almost rockabilly or country influence in some bands, and almost disco in other bands. The Bongos sort of are a pop or a rock band, There's so much variety that you really couldn't pinpoint a sound, but definitely a scene.
That scene has yielded its own independent record label, Coyote Records of Hoboken. Steve Almus's Beat Rodeo was one of the first 2 releases on the label, begun by Steve Fallon.
If any band wants to get out these days and get any kind of exposure, they have to have something out on vinyl. Even if they want to play anywhere, they have to have something on vinyl.
With the success of bands like the Bongos and the opportunities afforded at Maxwell's and other clubs springing up, it's likely Hoboken will continue to grow as a center for new music.
Now, a lot of people are moving from Manhattan and other parts of the country because there's sort of a music scene, there's an art scene, and there are galleries opening up, and it's a whole new town now.
Musicians move into town from the Midwest. They meet the local musicians. They form bands. You know, it's just a good place to get a start.
You know, when we've been out on the road, say, you know, out in Kansas or somewhere, you know, kids will say, "Oh yeah, Maxwell's Hoboken. I really want to go there." It's funny to think of that.
Yeah, they don't feel the lure to come to live in New York and have to struggle to try to play the Peppermint Lounge or something, or the Ritz. I think they feel that they can move into Hoboken, be able to afford it, meet some musicians, find a place to practice, and then get a gig at Maxwell's. And if you're successful at that, if you can prove yourself there, there's a good chance that you'll move up, go across the river, and play the city clubs.
In Hoboken, I'm Michael Aaron.